All right. So when we are talking about language, so maybe I have said that you are having seborrheic keratosis and we are not going to do anything. But if you want to remove this, then you need to go to the private clinics and NHS is not going to cover it. So that is a very poor way of saying the management, because I have not, first of all, I have not checked his understanding. I have told him you are having seborrheic keratosis, and I have not checked his understanding whether he knows what is seborrheic keratosis or not. Secondly, I have not reassured that patient. This patient who is having a harmless skin condition, but obviously he is concerned and he is here and he mentioned that to you that he is concerned about this. When you ask about eyes and the concerns, then he mentioned that he's concerned it might be a cancer. I have not reassured this patient about anything, that it's a harmless growth, it is very common, it is because of, maybe because of his aging, maybe because of sun exposure, sometime it can be because of some other environmental factor. I have not done it. I have not given safety netting. I have not given him any follow up plan. I have not talked to him about any general tips that he can use here. General tips, by general tips, I mean some things that he can do to prevent it in the future, like sun screening, like keeping the area covered. If it gets dry, he can use emollient or Vaseline. So the management plan I gave was very poor because it was not mentioning anything like that. It was not giving reassurance. It was not mentioning follow up, safety netting, and in language, if I talk about language, then obviously I have given him a medical jargon and I have not explained it. And sometimes you are too quick for the patient. And for example, if I am dealing with a patient and I have to breaking bad news here, and I am going very fast because I am worried about my time. My time is going to finish, so I am going fast, 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 fast. And in the meantime, while I am breaking the news, my patient has lost his eye contact. He is not looking at me. He is looking on floor, and I am telling about everything about the plan, like I have broke the news and now I'm telling what the consultants have decided for that patient, and I'm not checking his understanding, I'm not involving him, and I'm going fast and fast and I'm trying my best to complete the station in 8 minutes. So if this is the thing that you are doing, tick in rapport building, tick in language, and you don't know what your patient wants, so might be you are having tick in listening part as well. Okay. So these are the feedback statements that I wanted to share with you because it is very important to understand them and keep them in your mind while you are in your exam. So if anybody is having any question, please let me know. After 5 minutes, I will be talking about the next part of my presentation. You can ask me any question if you have.
Doctor, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Like in the management plan, do we have to, after every one or two sentences, do we have to check the understanding of the patient? Like, are you with me, or like that, or like how many times, like?
Well, if it is face to face station, then it's very easy to, look at the patient and understand whether your patient is following you or not, right? If it is
Okay.
face to face, then with the facial expression of the patient, you will get to know whether he is understanding or not. But if it is not face to face, it is telephonic station, and you think you are talking and talking and patient is not responding anything, he's not saying
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that, then it's better to ask him, are you following me so far? Any question in your
Okay.
mind? Do you have any particular concern? Okay, not
Okay. So
after every one or two sentences, but when you feel
okay.
your patient is not with you, so it's better to
Great.
ask.
So like if the patient is nodding or like giving a response, then it is okay. Like we can
Yeah,
proceed.
yeah, it means
Okay. Okay.
that it is a very good two-way conversation, your patient is
Okay.
understanding. And
Okay.
then, but still it's better to ask one or twice in the man, if you are having
Mm.
time in the management, like you have started your management by 3 minutes, then you can ask once or twice you have given the plan, then ask any question for me so far, any specific concern or expectation you are having from us today.
Okay.
Better to ask it.
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
You are welcome. Any other
Hello.
question? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, do we use ice in every station?
It's better to use ice wherever you can, because ice is telling you your patient's main concerns and what is his level of understanding, so that you can fill in the gaps. When you are asking about idea, so sometime they will tell you that they are thinking it might be cancer. And when you are asking about concerns, so they will tell you that, for example, in headache station, they will tell you that they want CT scan. So you can use your management, you can tailor your management according to your patient's demand, right?
Mm.
You will reassure him that, for example, the headache is because of tension. Okay, tension headache. Then you can reassure him that it doesn't seem to me that it is a cancer, because you, from the history we had, it is quite reassuring that you are not having any symptom of cancer. And you can reassure him strongly. So wherever you can, try to use ice a little bit. You should be a little bit conscious when you are in any setting, or when patient is in severe pain, then at that time sometimes it is not the right time to talk about the idea. But if you think you are having enough time and your patient is coming and he is calm and he is very comfortable with you, then always good idea to ask ice.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing, will you be talking about the timing? I mean, roughly how much we, like in combined station, how much we spend on this data gathering and then management? Because timing, like managing everything, the management plan always like gets messed up.
Hmm. Yeah, you are right. In combined station, it usually does. But the thing is that in combined station, the time management should be 2 minutes for data gathering, 4 minutes for examination or whatever task they have given you, and last 2 minutes for management. So what you can do is, for example, you are having a station, patient is coming with tummy pain and you are supposed to do abdominal, there is abdominal mannequin inside, and you are supposed to do abdominal examination. So get some data in initial 2 minutes, like you can talk about presenting complaint briefly, then you can talk about your DDs briefly, rule out any red
Mm.
flags. And
Mm.
it's, if you are practicing, then you will have a little bit idea, it is 2 minutes now, move. So
Mm.
as early as you can, move to the examination part, examine your patient, and after examination, before 6 minute bell, if you have time, you can talk about PMH. If in the beginning it was not a very long presenting complaint, it was, if it is pain, then usually it takes longer. If it is something else, then sometime it will not take longer. You can
Mm.
ask about PMH in 2 minute time as well. But if you are
Mm.
unable to ask, then after completing your examination, here you can ask PMH. It depends on your reflexes actually.
Okay.
So after 6 minute bell, forget about everything. Forget about your DESA. If you are at DESA, then don't ask it, and then straight away talk about your management for that particular
Okay.
patient.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, for example, if you picked up a verbal cue during your history taking, do you address it immediately or you address it during your management?
Okay. So that is a very good question. If it is something for which you don't need any data, right? If it
Okay.
is something, and obviously you, it depends on the where you are in the history taking part. If it is in the start of history taking and patient is telling you that, doctor, I'm having this concern, for example, what concern we should make here? Okay, patient is saying, I want to go home, doctor. Patient is coming with tiredness and she's saying, I want to go home, doctor. So obviously you cannot reassure him and you will just ask him to bear with you so that you can ask him some questions, and you are in A&E, so you are assessing that patient, you are not sure what to do here, so you will just request him to bear with you for a couple of more minutes so that you can assess him and make sure he's doing fine. And then later on, remember this patient want what he wanted. Sometime he will keep pushing you, I want to go home, I want to go home. And then it's up to you, if you can in the beginning, if you want to ask him, is there any particular reason, and she's telling you that I'm having my wedding in next few days, and I was busy with the preparation, so I want to go home, doctor. So you can tell him that, just bear with me for a couple of more minutes, I need to assess you. This
Okay.
patient is having maybe DK. Okay.
Mm.
So in the management, you will assess him, you will get to know in the investigation part, in the examination part, that this patient is having acute episode of DK. So obviously you will not let her
Mhm.
go, and you need to tell her that it is important to stay in the hospital because we need to do this for you. Tell the management plan to that patient.
Okay.
And if still she is unable to understand that, she is insisting on going, then still you will not go, because it is a matter of life and death. We cannot
Mm.
discharge someone with DK.
Mm.
On the other hand, someone who is coming with smoking cessation, and like he has been referred to you, you are in GP, and he's saying the same thing, then if that reason is valid enough, then you can talk about another appointment.
Okay.
Okay. but
Okay.
but usually they will not make it difficult for you. They will,
All right.
when you will say that I want to ask you few more questions, then they will understand that and they will let you take the history.
All right.
Okay.
Thank.
And another thing, if you are in the, if you patient is sharing some kind, give me an example of the concern so that I can use it.
Okay. So let's say, for example, the patient came with headache, and then when you started asking your questions, he says, "I feel like um, I feel like taking medicine, or I want medication, I want paracetamol, or I want morphine, or I want something." And you've not finished collecting the headache, so you don't know if you're going to give him medicine or not.
So you can tell him, let me complete the history first, let me ask you a few questions so that I can give you the right kind of medication. Is that
Okay.
okay with you?
Okay. I get
Okay.
it. Thank
Similarly,
you.
this patient can ask you, doctor, I want CT scan. Then ask him, why do you want that? Okay, I'm concerned about cancer. So if you have not gathered data, so obviously you cannot reassure him that he is having a cancer or not in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But in the management, if he is bringing up this concern, then you can you have data at that time, and you can
Mm.
address that accordingly, that you are not having any cancer, you are not having any symptom of cancer, so right now CT scan is not needed. But in the data gathering part, you are not having any information, so you cannot comment whether he need an CT scan or not. You will just politely insist him on staying with you and answering your question, and then you will be happy to answer his concerns.
Is that right? Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. So now we have to cover the history taking part. I'm going to cover history taking today because if we are covering management as well, then it's going to take so long. So I will try to briefly cover the history taking part. So in history taking, we mean to say, first of all, we have to elaborate the presenting complaint. You have to either do Socrates, you have to do Odipara, you have to do another mnemonic track. I'm going to cover all these mnemonic in a short while. Next slides. After that, you will be asking about anything else and looking for associated symptoms of your provisional diagnosis. If you are not having any provisional diagnosis, then you can ask about your DDs here. You can ask some questions about your DDs. I'm going to cover it shortly. What are the things that you are going to do? And then You are going to take past medical history, lifestyle, and then social history depending on your case. Now we are going to see what does it mean. Okay. There are two important questions that should be asked in your history taking station. First important question. Tell me more. Patient is coming with tiredness. Tell me more about it. Patient is coming with headache. Tell me more about it. And then after you have done this Socrates or Dipara, after that another open question. Is there anything else apart from this? Any other problem that is bothering you? Why? Because headache, tiredness, all these things are having a lot of DDs. So if you are asking these anything else question, sometimes you can get a clue here. Patient is coming with tiredness, and patient, when you ask anything else, patient is saying, doctor, I'm not able to concentrate on my work these days. Doctor, I'm feeling like I'm not happy these days. My mood is low. So it is giving you a clue to depression. If patient has not given you clue, then obviously you have to rule out your DDs, all your DDs here. But if you have the clue, then your job is very simple. You will ask you will explore this thing. If I'm saying you that I'm having low mood, then score the mood for me, and since when you are feeling like that, and has it changed onset and progression of the mood, and then is after first anything else, if anything else as well apart from this mood problem and tiredness, no doctor, then you will go on and you will ask about the other symptoms of depression, other symptoms like any change in appetite, any change in concentration, and by any chance do you feel sometime when people are feeling low, they tend to hurt themselves or anyone around them. So has it ever happened to you? So ask about the other symptoms of depression and confirm your diagnosis. But if patient has not given you any DD here, then you will explore the DDs of all the DDs of tiredness which are relevant to your scenario. This is Socrates. So site, don't move if you are unsure about the site. Don't go and ask another question because site is very important. If you are not sure about the site, then you cannot make the correct diagnosis. Site is frontal, on the front part of the head. It can be sinusitis. Site is on the back part of the head, and it is radiating to the neck. It feels like a band around your neck. Tension headache. Unilateral. Most of the time, meningitis, migraine is unilateral. It is migraine. Okay. So after that, you will ask the question, relevant questions. Onset, when it started, how it started, what were you doing when it started, is it continuous or on and off, and by this you can ask about progression as well. If it is continuous, then you can ask him whether it is on and off or it is continuous. So patient coming with chest pain, he had chest pain in the morning, and after when you are in onset, you can ask about this thing, that if it is, are you still having chest pain? No doctor, my chest pain got improved in 15 minutes. If it is on and off, he's saying I'm having free episodes of chest pain in past few days, then there is another DD for this. FDT, frequency, duration, and timing, sorry, trigger. So what was the ask about the last episode, when was the last episode, how long it lasted, how many times you have this chest pain. He might say that in past 1 week I am having this third time, and the last episode was yesterday. So explore the last episode and ask him, other, what about other episode, were those episodes similar like this last episode or they were different? Okay. So in this way you are having an idea about the progression. Character, pain, patient is coming with pain, how it feels like, what kind of pain you are having. Sometimes they will say it's just painful, doctor. Sometimes they will say it's crushing pain, it feels like something is sitting on my chest, it is tearing pain. So sometimes you can get clue here. Is it going anywhere or not? Chest pain going to neck, chest pain going to jaw, chest pain going to left arm. So it is making your provisional diagnosis strong that this chest pain is because of MI or maybe ACS. Aggravating factor, yeah, I'm having this chest pain while I'm walking. Is there anything that is making it worse? No, doctor. I'm just sitting down. I was just sitting down and I had this chest pain. If it is on walking, then it is angina. If he was having chest pain at rest, might be unstable angina. Anything that is making it better? Yes, doctor. When I'm taking my GTN spray, it gets better. Angina.
Yes, ma'am.
Timing.
Yes.
Okay. When is there any particular time of the day when you are having more headache? Yes, doctor. In morning time, you should be alarmed if it is morning headache. It can be SOL. Is there any time in which at time when you are having um more headache? Evening time might be a tension headache related to stress. He's coming back from the job and he's having headache at that time. Scoring. Scoring is important because it will determine your painkiller. Scoring is 1, 2, 3. Paracetamol will work. Scoring is 5, 6. You might need to give ibuprofen. Scoring is 9, 10. Red flag. Might be subarachnoid hemorrhage. Do you feel it is the worst headache of your life? And this patient who is having 8, 9, 10 scoring, oral painkillers are less likely to work on this patient. Next thing is your DDs and red flags. Let's talk about them now. No, let's talk about Odipara, then we will go on and talk about DDs and red flags for all of them. Odipara. Patient is coming with tiredness. When it started, how it started, how long it lasted. Is it continuous or not? Any particular time of the day you are feeling more tired? Anything that is making it better? Anything that is making it worse? And anything else apart from tiredness? If it is a presenting complaint, then you need to explore it in detail. If it is not a presenting complaint and patient is telling you about something that is related to your diagnosis, then only onset and progression is enough. Just ask this onset and progression about this. For example, patient is coming with tiredness and now he is telling me that I am not able to sleep. So I will ask him, since when you are feeling like that, and how many episodes, or are you unable to like I am telling you for past 1 month, are you unable to sleep on each and every day in this past 1 month or on specific days? Anything that you can relate to with that, any specific trigger like any stress or anything like that. And then ask about progression. Do you feel that in past 1 month it has changed, the sleep pattern, this insomnia has changed or not? So if it is not a presenting complaint, then sometime it is okay. You can go for only basically three things: onset, progression, and trigger. Okay, so I need a volunteer here. I would like to ask one of these things, and then I will see if you have grasped this or not. Anyone?
Hello,
Yeah, Dr. Kurat.
I would like to try.
Okay, all
I
right.
can.
Okay, next you will be Dr. Saida. I will
That's
give you chance after doctor. Okay. Okay. So
absolutely
yeah. Can you please tell me your name?
Okay, I'm Dr. Emmanuel.
Monroe. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, ask me the questions. Nice to see you, doctor. You have asked me how can I help you. I told you that, doctor, I'm feeling like I'm having some breathing difficulty.
Oh, okay. I'm breathing difficulty. Okay. I'm very sorry about that. But when did it start?
It started 3 hours back, doctor.
Uh, okay. Were you doing anything when it started?
Yes, doctor. I was walking.
Okay. And have you had this kind of complaint before?
Yes, in past few weeks, I am having it off and on. Whenever I am going for a walk, my morning walk, I am having this breathing difficulty.
Oh, okay. I'm really sorry to hear about that. But concerning your complaint, is there anything that makes it better?
Yeah, it gets better on its own, but when I come home and when I am trying to rest, then it gets better.
Oh, okay. And is there anything particular you found that makes it worse?
Yeah, the walking maybe.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm feeling like sometime my heart is racing.
Oh, okay. And this new complaint of your heart racing, when did it start?
It started 1 month back.
Oh, okay. I'm very sorry about that. And has it changed since it started?
Hmm, well, I don't think so.
Okay. Anything else?
No?
Okay.
Okay. So good. But do you
Okay.
think heart racing is something that is continuous or on and off? Don't you think it would have been better if you could have asked me how long it lasted,
Uh,
duration? Yeah. How many
that's
episodes you had in past 1 month?
okay. That's true. That's true.
Similarly, breathing difficulty. I think it's a vague terminology. So don't you think it would be great if you can ask me what do you mean by breathing difficulty?
True.
So it might be like I am getting short of breath. It might be that I am unable to breathe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly, if you are talking about dizziness, then dizziness is also a vague terminology. So you can ask your patient to explain that. Can you please tell me what do you mean by that?
Mm.
So they can tell you I was about to fall down. Sometimes they confuse vertigo and dizziness, like the room is spinning, my head is spinning. Okay, so
Yeah.
if it is something like this, then you can ask them to explain.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next presenting complaint, that which is also very common, is that if there is any kind of discharge, any blood in the sputum, any discharge from front passage, any kind of bleeding from front passage. Okay, so if it is this presenting complaint, then the mnemonic that you can use is TRAC. T is for timing, since when, how many times. R is for relation, can you relate it to anything? Sometimes, like if I am telling you that I'm having whitish discharge from my front passage, and then you can ask me to relate it to anything, I can give you a hint here, like maybe I have changed my shampoo, my um bathing gel few days back. After that I have noticed this. Then amount, ask them to tell the amount. Then color, what is the color? If it is discharged, then they can tell you it is whitish in color, grayish in color. If it is whitish, then you can think about candidiasis. If it is grayish, then you can think about something else. Can somebody tell me the name? If it is grayish discharge from front passage related to,
Bacteriosis.
yeah, perfect. Consistency you can ask. And if it is a blood, then you can ask about any clots as well. So someone is coming as an antenatal checkup appointment, and she's telling you that I'm having bleeding from my front passage and she's worried about miscarriage. So in bleeding you can ask about clots as well. Bleeding per rectum, what is the color of bleeding? Red, fresh blood, brown, So it means that it might be something else, like brownish color discharge is mostly because of upper GI bleed. Fresh blood is because of lower GI bleed. And you can ask about clots as well in case of bleeding. If it is skin lesion, another kind of station, you will be asking about this mnemonic: site, size, shape, skin lesion, lump, rash. In all these stations, you can use this. Color, change in these parameters. If there is any contact history or not, C is for contact history as well. And then R is for raised, raised or not. If it is a brownish colored lesion, it is smooth in outline, oval in shape, and raised. And you have the picture, then you can think about seborrheic keratosis. If it is not raised, brownish colored lesion, smooth, and a kind of circular or oval in shape, you can think about mole as well. PID, pain, itching, discharge, and bleeding. Stiff is the mnemonic you can use for sun exposure, trauma, insect bite, and flaws. Basically, this is for DDs, your DDs. Ask the relevant question according to your station. If it is hemangioma, then obviously no need to ask about sun exposure. If it is something which is on, it is a lesion on sun exposed area, it makes sense to ask about sun exposure. Flaws is your most important thing in DDs. Why? Because it is ruling out your cancers, it is ruling out your infections. It is your red flag, both your red flag and your DD. F is for, can somebody tell me what is flaws?
Yeah, fever, loss
Hmm?
of appetite, any lumps and bumps in the body,
Hmm?
and what else? Uh,
Weight loss.
weight changes. Yeah.
Okay, F is for fever, L is for lumps and bumps, A is for appetite changes, 8 for anemia symptoms as well. W is for weight changes, S is for sweating or night sweats. So broadly speaking, we are thinking about cancers and infection when we are asking these questions. And anemia, obviously, we are asking about anemia as well. So when we are talking about DDs, after you're presenting complaint, anything else, okay, now let's talk about DDs. What are the DDs that you should be doing in your station? Cancer, common conditions, emergencies, if it is a non-accidental injury or not. If non-accidental injury, or you can say trauma. So these are the DDs and you should think about them. If I am talking about tiredness, then think in this pattern. If I'm talking about headache, think is in this pattern. Ask some question about cancer. Ask some question about any emergency in headache, that is subarachnoid hemorrhage or meningitis. Ask a question about common condition relevant to your scenario. Sometime migraine can be relevant. Sometime tension headache can be a relevant common condition. Trauma history. Okay, so these will conclude your DDs. Again, I want to discuss about flaws. And because flaws is your red flag, flaws is ruling out your DDs. What are the other red flags apart from flaws? If you are dealing with someone who is having vomiting, diarrhea, if you are dealing with child, okay, so you can ask about dehydration symptoms. In sepsis as well, in infections as well, you can ask about dehydration symptom. Specifically, be concerned about dehydration if you are dealing with elderly or you are dealing with a child. You should be having very low threshold for asking these symptoms. Can somebody tell me dehydration symptoms quickly?
I think
Increased
dry
thirst.
mouth, dry lips, and decreased urine output.
Yes, perfect. More. These are for the mild to moderate dehydration. Severe dehydration, cranky, irritable child. And in severe dehydration, child can even get drowsy, sleepy. Okay. All right. And then comes anemia symptoms, specifically when there is bleeding per rectum, blood in the sputum, bleeding in from any orifice in the body. Okay. Think about anemia and rule out anemia. Any local symptoms you can think about, like if you have a lump in the neck area, think about the structures that will be there. Like it can compress the windpipe, it can compress the food pipe. So ask about those things, local symptoms, local compression symptoms if it is a lump. Okay, I'm seeing how many slides are left. All right, so we have just 2.5 minutes to complete this. Past medical history, or some people call it meptosa. These are important. Specifically, these 3-4 things are important. When we are talking about a medication, you have to rule out any medical condition this patient is having, any medication he is on, including over the counter or herbal medication, because medications are having some interactions, allergies as well. So these 3-4 things are not to be. Family history, obviously, if cancer is running in the family, then we are having high suspicion of cancer in that particular case. So these are the questions that you should not be skipping in your stations. Hospitalization and surgeries, plus minus, depending on your case, you can ask it, or even you can skip it. But these 4 things are not to be missed. Okay. Recent health, medical condition, medication, allergy, family history. Lifestyle, ask relevant lifestyle which is giving you hint, lifestyle which is giving you any risk factor for your particular uh, condition, which is giving you any clue. It includes diet. D is for diet, E is for exercise, S is for stress, S is for smoking, A is for alcohol, R is for recreational drug, and include T as well, so you can say it as dessert. So travel history. So you can use this mnemonic here, but only ask the relevant questions. No need to ask all of them. And then social history. Sometimes social history is not that much important, but when you are dealing with someone who is elderly, when someone who had a fall recently, child, in children, obviously, you have to rule it out, who is taking care of the child and if child is safe to go home or not. In NAI cases, similarly, when you are doing discharge assessment, then you have to talk about social history, if there is anyone to look after that guy at home or not. Then comes job and driving. So driving, because we have to give DVLA advice to these patients. When someone is having